Hello, my name is Professor Michael Morris, and I want to talk about haiku and its related forms. Haiku is oftentimes thought of as a very simple form of poetry. It's very short, obviously, with the 3 lines. Our traditional American model has a 5-syllable first line, 7-syllable second line, and a 5-syllable third line. And oftentimes we show this to children so that they can get used to putting things into that nice, rigid format. But the original haiku poems were actually not always strictly adhering to the syllables as we think of them. Of course, they were written in Japanese and a number of other languages before they made their way to the United States. In fact, many haiku poems were written in a single line straight down a page with a picture with it. Haiku usually makes an observation and evokes a mood more than a feeling. It's not usually something that preaches to us. It captures a single moment, doesn't tell the reader what to think, but works more on the power of the image. If you are familiar with the idea of mindfulness meditation, you might find that this is a very appealing form of poetry. The haiku poem contains a kigo, which is a seasonal word. It doesn't have to be directly mentioning fall or spring, summer, or winter, but it usually has something in the image which makes reference to one of the 4 seasons. Now, since the 1950s, a number of American poets have explored the form, oftentimes going against our very strict rules. So that's why you sometimes see modern haiku with different syllable counts in the lines. You find that many modern haiku deviate from that traditional format, but this should give us at least a starting point. Here are a number of the famous haiku poets: Basho, Buson, Isa, and Shiki. You'll also see in the corner here a short little haiku poem, as all haiku poems are, by African American novelist Richard Wright, who wrote over 500 haiku during his lifetime. One of the most famous haiku poems is one written by Basho, referencing a frog jumping into a pond. Seems like a very simple act, but I thought you should read these translations, which by a number of different people. If you click the link, you can actually find over 30 different translations of the same short poem, and you'll see on the screen the same poem written for us with illustrations. But you'll notice that the gist of the poem is that one moment of the frog jumping into the water and an emphasis on the sound of the water as the frog jumps in. Before the haiku poem existed in Japanese culture, there was the tanka, which was a very popular form used in conversation, oftentimes, or between 2 people in letters. The word tanka means short song, and in a tanka, the first speaker would write or say the first 3 lines, which eventually evolved into what we now call haiku. The second speaker would complete the poem with the next 2 lines being 7 syllables each. So the total poem would be 5, 7, 5, and 7, 7. Now we have poems that are written by single poets that have 5 lines and follow this format in some way. Over the course of time, a number of poems and chains of these poems developed with a number of contributors. So you might have several different poets and philosophers and thinkers and other people who would just add a little bit here. They would do the 3 lines, and someone else would do the 2 lines, and the next person would do the 3 lines. And this is called a renga. It means a linked poem. Now, what most people, particularly in the English-speaking world, think of as haiku are really senryu. Senryu deviate from the haiku in that they don't generally focus on nature or images, but might use the syllable count to talk about something related to human nature, psychological insight, or maybe some humorous observation. These were oftentimes called human haikus for their focus on the human experience. The heiban is a form of writing which combines both prose and haiku. Usually there is one or two short paragraphs that are kind of like a prose poem or a narrative of some sort, and that would be followed by a short haiku on the same theme or the same topic. Basho's book Narrow Road to the Interior is a collection of these heiban works. Traditional topics in this include the memories, dreams, slice of life portraits, kind of like our vignette, rather, not villanelle, and also, of course, the topic of love. Here are a couple of websites you might find interesting. There's one here at the Academy of Poets website. I found a very interesting comic called Old Pond Comics that contains classic haiku poems written by some of the famous haiku poets, but with the added flair of a comic. And also Modern Haiku, which publishes some of the best contemporary poems. Of course, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube.